honky-tonk band. Thanks very much.
Now that was fun. Thank you so much, Paula, and thanks to our audience members who really created a wonderful band there to accompany you. That was so much fun. I'm interested because Oh Susanna was so hugely popular. Were there any other songs like that that people might know, nationally that originated here in Pennsylvania?
Well, a lot of things that Stephen Foster wrote, for sure. Camptown Races. That's not too far from here, isn't it? In the northern part of the state, the Camptown racetracks that was about. I think that's in our area. Swanee River, which isn't in our area. Hard Times, which was a wonderful song he wrote about Pittsburgh before the beginning of the Civil War. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine that Stephen Foster and his legacy came from Western Pennsylvania. It's known so nationally and internationally.
And Paula, you've talked about teaching these songs to children and teaching them history through these songs. Why is it so important for young children to know this music?
Oh, well, as an educator, one of my big concerns in the classroom right now is that we've become so textbook driven and so standardized test driven that one thing that we're missing out on is our own communities and the places where we live. We don't have as much time to go out and do field trips or have guest speakers come in. All of the materials are standardized and written by national companies who just don't know about our own communities. Yeah, exactly. We're losing that local heritage and history. And I think, it's so important too, because whether you're trying to preserve the environment or your history and your heritage, if you don't know about it, if you don't feel connected to it, if it's not a part of you, then you're not going to be that advocate that we need to preserve our history and our heritage and our environment. So, and music, again, is just the best way to connect, whether it's with kids or adults or anybody. It's the perfect teaching tool. So if we can get kids excited about our history and our local heritage through the music, then just like me, they'll become history nerds eventually.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, where do you acquire some of the odder instruments, and also how do you learn to play them?
That's a good question. Some of them, well, some of the Native American instruments I got at powwows locally. And I would encourage anybody, if you see that there's going to be a powwow somewhere. I wasn't sure about going. I wasn't sure if that was even okay, but they're very welcoming. It's a great way to see, some history and heritage, and they have instruments and things to share. So I got some of my instruments there. The bones I heard about, and I really wanted to play them because I thought they were so unique, but I could not make a sound in them. And I finally went to, in Cook Forest, they have a dulcimer festival, or they used to have a dulcimer festival, and there was a man there who did a little workshop on the bones, and he kind of showed me how you have to hold them. And then I went home and I walked around with them for about 2 weeks, and then finally started to make some noise out of them. And then I would play them with the band, the Newlanders, and I could kind of play, but I'd have to really concentrate. And my husband said I looked like I was trying to kill our guitar player, because so I had to lighten up and learn how to play them. The unicans I made myself, and the washboards you just find in an antique store. I think kids know them because they're still hanging on walls as decorations, and you just have to take them down and play them.
When you played those bones, it reminded me of first grade in 1940, and we had sort of a band. I mean, I don't know what we did, but most of us played something called the sticks, and it was sticks, and you just went like this. Some people, some very musical people, shook a tambourine, but I was relegated to the sticks.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
You've gotten us up to the Civil War now. Are there any Civil War songs that are uniquely Western Pennsylvania?
Well, again, going back to Stephen Foster, one of my favorites is Hard Times. because a lot of songs that Stephen Foster wrote were about, you know, plantation life and things he was hardly ever even there. I understand he was down the Mississippi one time, but Hard Times was written specifically about the hard times that people were having in Pittsburgh, really before the Civil War, but after the Civil War it kind of became an anthem because it just spoke of the hard times that people were coming through.
Hi, I had a comment about the bones. We worked on a pipe organ one time, and the original pipes were made from bones that were hollowed out.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Now,
You don't see that every day.
No.
yeah, I've heard that one of the oldest instruments that have been found anywhere were flutes that were carved out of bones.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. It's not just percussion, but was the early ancient way of making music. So let's see, what would I want you to take away from today? Well, I think it's a lot of things that you already know, that music is just a wonderful and important force in the world. And it's not just something for entertainment. It carries our stories and our history and our emotions and things that don't get written down other places. And making music is something that people have done since there have been people on earth. It doesn't feed us, it doesn't clothe us, it doesn't shelter us, and yet all across the world, any place that there have been people, they spend their resources and their time and their energy making music. So there must be something about it. I don't think anybody even knows or is able to put it into words why it is that we need to have music in our lives. But I just hope that you will find many, many ways to keep music in your life and to explore and share the music that we make right here, because there's no other music on earth quite like the music of Western Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Well, Paula, I think I speak for the audience when I say we have had ourselves a foot-tapping good time with you today. Thank you for teaching us these songs and the history that goes with them. It's just been so much fun to learn with you, and we appreciate your time and your talents that you've shared with us. And we want to thank our audience for being such good sports, for showing off their musicianship, and for clapping and singing along with us, and also for asking some really insightful questions that helped us to learn even more. So we thank our studio audience. We want to thank DeBent's Antique Music World for hosting us for such a wonderful event. And we want you to know that Humanities on the Road is a collaboration really between the Pennsylvania Humanities Council and the Pennsylvania Cable Network. And if you'd like to know more about the program, if you'd like to follow us as we travel all over Pennsylvania, see what we're learning about, and also to find some really cool bonus material, some behind-the-scenes interviews, and just some good stuff, we urge you to go to the website. It is humanitiesontheroad.org. That's humanitiesontheroad.org. Check it out and see what we're up to. For all of us, I'm Tracy Matisak. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.